And we spoke yesterday about Southampton's interest in Jesse Marsch. My understanding, we broke this story on talkSPORT last night, was that Jesse Marsch held positive talks with the Southampton hierarchy yesterday about becoming their new manager. Looks like that deal is edging closer. And it's really interesting. If you look at the fixtures, Southampton want their new man in place in time to take on Chelsea at the weekend. They don't see that as a free hit, a game they can waste. They see that as a game where if they're organised, if they can get in the faces of Chelsea, they can get a positive result. First home game for Jesse Marsch. What about this? It will be Leeds United, his former club, at St Mary's in a couple of weeks' time. It's amazing, isn't it, how the fixture list throws up these quirks of fate.
It is indeed. So, I mean, let's get Simon's take on that. I don't mean to be unkind to Jesse Marsch, but how can you be sacked by one club 1 minute and in the same league, the elite league, the Premier League, go to another who want to appoint you?
Well, I'm sure Southampton, if they're going to do it, will make a case for that. I personally can't see the case for it because I can't suggest that I don't think he's capable of managing Leeds United and then be capable of managing Southampton. I realise, and Alex will attest to this as well, styles make fights. So different personalities will sit in different environments. And once upon a time, in a land long forgotten, Steve Bruce went one way to Birmingham and I took Trevor Francis from Birmingham to Crystal Palace, who had recently been sacked by Birmingham. So I can't sit there with this holier-than-thou attitude. What I can do is sit there, having seen how badly that worked out for me, and look at the reality of this situation and saying, I don't think he's got the chops. I don't know whether this is a board appointment or whether it's an owner appointment, if indeed it is going to happen. I mean, I think we're quite solid on this, and so is the perception of it. I don't think he's a good enough manager. I think he's all style over substance, and I don't think the style is that great, and I think the substance is lacking.
So what do they see that we don't?
Well,
you were an owner, Simon. You know the game inside out.
But one man's meat is another man's poison, isn't it? You know, beauty, again, another little platitude, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. But when
imagine if he keeps Southampton up and Leeds go down.
But I look at it and say there's an embarrassment of no, it's not an embarrassment of riches. The exact opposite of that. There's not an embarrassment of riches. There's an absolute dearth of top quality managers around that look like they can manage in the Premier League. And so you look at it and go, like I said yesterday, it's the best of a bad bunch. Now, the circumstances around this one are energising for Jesse Marsch because there'll be no greater motivation to prove his ability than going out of a side that booted him out and relegating that side. He'll say that's not the case because he loves Leeds United and would be wonderful for the opportunity. But how much satisfaction would he get if he were to put Southampton out of the relegation zone and Leeds United back into it?
Well, that's right. Alex, you know the South Coast, you know Southampton, you know the club. I mean, how will the supporters greet this news, do you think? I'm trying to second guess them.
They seem to be more positive about this appointment than Nathan Jones. I've got to correct myself. That game against Leeds isn't at St Mary's. It's at Ellen Road. So not only is Jesse Marsch potentially taking on his old club Leeds, he's going back to Ellen Road in his second game in charge, assuming this deal does get over the line. As I say, positive talks were held yesterday. Southampton fans seem happy. They see Jesse Marsch, I think, as somebody who was in the Ralph Hasenhüttl mould. He was at the Red Bull Group. As was Ralph Hasenhüttl. What was interesting when Southampton appointed Nathan Jones, they went away from the playbook that Ralph Hasenhüttl, you may remember during COVID, with Martin Semmens, the chief executive, who I know Simon knows well. They put this playbook together, the way the first team should play, the way the academy players and academy teams should play. They went away from that with Nathan Jones. I think if Jesse Marsch comes on board, they will be going back to that playbook.
And I think that's a very, very, very good point, Alex, and I think that may well be at the cornerstone of it. But all of that to one side, does that subsequently keep Southampton in the division?
I think it's a difficult ask anyway, Simon. They're 4 points adrift of safety. You look at the record under Nathan Jones, 7 defeats in 8 Premier League games. If you're making a case for Southampton to stay up, and I would love to do that because I think they did do some good business in January. I think it's a better group of players than the tune that Nathan Jones was getting out of them. But who goes down? You know, Bournemouth looked bang in trouble, but actually they played well against Newcastle at the weekend. Everton were poor last night against Liverpool in the Merseyside derby on talkSPORT. But I think at home, they might get enough points under Sean Dyche to get themselves out of trouble. Yeah. Leeds are in trouble. Yeah. Apart from that, I can't see West Ham going down. I don't see Leicester going down.
Alex, here's the deal. Since you brought us that news a moment ago that Marsch is in pole position to take over Southampton, messages flying in. If you're a Southampton fan, you want to send us a message, incidentally, please do 81089. If you're a Leeds fan, what do you think Southampton will be getting in the manager that your club sacked in the last few days? Give us a call now, 03717 223344. Alex, here's one. Mike, if Rasmus Ankersen appoints Jesse Marsch, then I'm done. I'm done after 50 years of supporting Southampton. 50 years. He says, and these are Mike's words, not mine, we're run by clowns. Ankersen is the one who needs sacking. So that's just one. And I'm looking at the messages coming in. And the theme of them, Alex, is how can Marsch be sacked by Leeds 1 minute and strolling into St Mary's the next?
I get that. But I guess it's also a reflection of the dearth of quality candidates. I know when Southampton were drawing up a shortlist at the weekend, there wasn't a queue. You look at the situation that Leeds have had, and maybe we'll come on to that. They've been turned down by at least 3 targets. I think the number actually is much more than that. Rasmus Ankersen was behind the appointment of Nathan Jones. I think this is more of a unified decision because Jesse Marsch has been on Southampton's radar for a long time before Sport Republic took over the club. So I don't necessarily think this is Rasmus Ankersen's decision alone. Nathan Jones was, and of course that didn't work out at all well for Southampton.
Yeah, so Marsch will steal the headlines if he gets a Southampton job. What do we know at Leeds United this morning, Alex?
Well, we know that Nuno Espirito Santo's name is now on their radar. I'm not sure that this will happen because he's got a big release clause in his contract, around about £8 million. The reason they didn't manage to prize the guy away from Rayo Vallecano, Areola, was because he had a big release clause they didn't want to pay. And I think what's interesting when it comes to Leeds, you have to look at their boardroom. You've got Radrazani, who's been very vocal on Twitter. He promised an appointment this time next week. Nothing's happened there. You've got Victor Orta, who's come under fire from Leeds fans. And then you've got the American element of the boardroom as well. I was told at the weekend they're all pushing in different directions. So they haven't got a unified idea of who they want to approach. We know that Schroeder from Ajax was watching from the stands at the weekend. He is now off their list. It's been a mess, Leeds managerial search, no two ways about it. And if you're comparing it to Southampton, they want to get a manager in for the weekend. What you have to say about Saints is they're acting quickly and decisively to identify their top target. It looks like it will be Jesse Marsch and get him in the job. Leeds haven't managed to do that.
Alex, thank you very much indeed. talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crook bringing us the news this morning. All of a sudden, it's looking more and more like Jesse Marsch sacked by Leeds going in at Southampton.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.